So, all right, we are live now. Good evening, everyone. This is Co-Anglers Corner with Rob and John. We have a very interesting and special guest this evening, Violetta Talley. Um, so we're not going to wait too much longer to bring her on. Rob, is there anything you want to talk about or mention
No, I
prior
look
to bringing her
forward.
on?
No, she's I've seen her on J Angels. Let's Talk Fishing. She's a great communicator, and honored to have her on.
Yes, and she's well versed in all aspects of fishing, not just one type. So we're going to be bringing her on right now. If anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'll go from there. All right.
All right.
All right.
Hey
So
guys,
Hey, how's it going?
good.
welcome, Violet. Glad to have you on.
Thank
Oh,
you.
let's switch this around. I don't want to be the
There
big
we
one.
go.
There we go. There we go. Much better. Much better. Nope. 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 Nope.
Nope. There we go. Now we're good.
All
Now
right.
we're good.
Let's try it again. There we go. I
I
apologize.
think you got it
Violet.
now. Yeah, I think you got it.
All right. So we just basically what's that? We're good. All right.
Yep, we're good.
So if you don't mind, give us a little background about you, and we'll go from there.
Um, well, I've been fishing since I was about 3 years old. And I'm 43. I'm not worried about telling my age. So it's been a long time of fishing. I come from a Polish immigrant family, so I was born here, first generation, and my parents are from Poland, and so they're hardworking factory workers, immigrants coming over from the old country, and they brought a lot of the traditions with them. But we didn't have a lot of time or money for vacations, so we would just go to the local lake or someplace local where we can go fishing on a Sunday or Saturday. And my dad enjoyed it, but he never got past the fact that he was they would do worm and bobber fishing. There were no plastic lures or whatnot. But the number one type of fishing, which comes from Eastern European roots, is carp fishing.
Yep.
And it's very popular in Europe. And granted, my dad was not a professional fisherman. He just did it for fun. But the way I learned first was you take the biggest hook you can find. You'll put as much bait on it as you can with the heaviest weight you can. You cast it as far as you can, stick it in the ground, go have a beer. And that was it. And that was fishing. And that's what I learned. Now my dad would put a bell on that line, and I would sit there and stare at it. And even if it moved in the wind, if I heard that bell ring, I was running to it. I couldn't do anything. I was only 3 years old, but I brought in my first fish. I don't have my photo with me. Usually when I have my seminars, I have the first actual photo. If I pull it up on my phone, I might show you. But I actually have the first actual photo of me and my fish. And that's it. Downhill from there. I was addicted. And my parents got sick of me. And but I never got past the worm and bobber stage. It's just basically whatever bit was great, but I enjoyed it, And as I got older, it got worse. And it was a little more difficult because the rest of my family kind of weaned out of it. And so I kind of carried it, and I just got more and more throughout the years through school. I had to be self-taught most of the time. YouTube came. I learned a lot from YouTube. Next thing you know, now I'm doing tournaments. And I actually never thought I'd ever do tournaments, but I actually hated the fact of wanting to do tournaments. But after I did my first one, it was so successful. I was hooked, absolutely hooked. I'm so competitive. And it's just every aspect of fishing. As much as I just love the fishing part, I love the whole industry. I like doing the seminars. I like working shows. I like doing the business end of it. I create products in my business for the fishing industry. Just all around everything. Shining my boat. I'll just be out there cleaning my boat. I love it. Taking apart my reels and re-greasing them and whatnot. It's all part of it. Obviously, nothing is like holding your, the nice fish up at the weigh-in and cashing your check, but it's still all aspects. It's the one thing that I love everything about, and it's been my earliest passion since day one. So that's kind of a nutshell. And I'm just trying to grow, and I'm taking each step step at a time, and growing with my passion, and just seeing how far I can go.
Definitely. I know you do a lot of seminars with younger anglers. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, the high school and the college anglers coming out right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I've worked with Daiwa, and I've worked with a couple other companies and spoken in front of high schools. I do try to help the high schools as much as I can. My time is a little limited because like we spoke earlier, I said I can't say no to a lot of things. So I'm co-directing a tournament series. I'm working with a lot of sponsors, helping them with their marketing, graphic design. I do products in my business. I run my business solely. I have a couple helpers that come, thank God for them. But otherwise, I'm going to be expanding the business. It's doing well. But I also want to fish. And you know how it is. You got to put in the time on the water. And I'm, this is my busiest time of the year, Christmas, because everybody's ordering Christmas gifts and whatnot. But as soon as it slows down in the spring, fishing season starts up. And next thing you know, I'm out on the water 5 to 7 days a week. And I'm practicing because the practice to me is just as exciting as the tournament day.
I would.
Yeah, but then the shows right around
to
the
me,
corner.
I prefer practicing over tournaments.
Yep.
Yeah, show season. Yeah, come January, I'm still kind of winding down from the business because you get a lot of people put in late orders, and I also have a lot of business to business orders. I do prototypes for companies. I've done stuff for Daiwa and Shimano, 13 Fishing, things like that. I just did some work for a couple YouTubers that do fishing YouTube channels. They wanted some real stands. I do display stands, all kinds of stuff. And so that winds down. But yeah, show season's coming. And so I'd love the shows. It's funny. My sponsors laugh at me. They're like, you want to stand at our table all day? I go, yeah, I love doing it. What am I going to do? I'm sitting there just talking to people about fishing. How great is that? Promoting a product I love anyway. I don't promote a product that I don't love. So, and I love sharing stories with these people. It's a great way to meet people. It's a great way to get out there. I do all my shopping at the shows. I promote all the small businesses. I'm a small business owner. Why wouldn't I buy from them? So it makes sense. So I love it. And then you get to travel and meet new people. I think it's just all around fun. I have a great time. I just can't I don't have enough time in the day to do everything I want to do, unfortunately.
I heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's the furthest south lake you fished on a tournament so far?
Oh, I haven't done much outside the Midwest. I really need to expand more, but I've done Douglas. I've gone to Douglas Lake. I'm going to go to Gunnersville. I went to Chickamauga.
Yep.
I am going to do Gunnersville come March. That'll be my first time at Gunnersville. So a lot of those lakes outside the Midwest are new to me. I focus a lot in the Midwest just because that's where I do my tournaments. My time is limited being a business owner. Right. So travel, I want to try to minimize time with travel and staying any place or whatnot. So I did a lot in the bass clubs, but we went north to Wisconsin because they have a lot of great lakes up there. Smallmouth fishing, Sturgeon Bay is still my favorite place to go smallmouth fishing. I just had a field day there. You have a blast. When you have to throw back 4 and 5 pounders because they're not going to help you in a tournament, that's interesting, So, but still, it's just going out there fishing and you can catch hundreds of fish a day and they're all 3, 4, 5 pounds. It got to the point where my one buddy in the boat, he said, can I put the net down? Because I really don't want to keep netting anymore. Can I fish? And I'm like, yeah, because I got on a roll, I got on a feeding frenzy and it didn't stop. But they were all 3.5, 4 pounds. They weren't going to help us. So he's like, can I put the net down? I'm like, yeah, you can put the net down. Let's just fish. But as far as south, I haven't. And that's one of the things I need to do. I need to go to the Southern Lakes and explore because it's a whole new world down there. Yeah. And I will. I'm just taking it a little at a time. I'm enjoying the journey. Yeah. But if some opportunity arises and I say, you know what, there's a tournament series, maybe a team thing or something where I'm working with somebody, whatever. Sponsor says, listen, we want you to go, but fine. I will definitely do it. I'll have to work out the business aspect of it. But eventually, yeah, I'd like to go that way. I'm just taking my time and enjoying the journey pretty much.
Awesome. Can't blame you there.
Right.
Yeah, Douglas is awesome. I love Douglas because you can see the Smoky Mountains in the background. That's one of my favorites also.
Gorgeous. It was actually, that's my personal best is there. My personal best isn't huge because I'm in the Midwest Lakes, but 6.5 pound largemouth. That's not a lot to a lot of people, but it's a lot to me. Fishing where a place, locally where 3, 4, 5 pounds is big, but 6.5 pounder, that's nice. It was nice. It was a surprise at the time where, 4.5 was big for the tournament. But that was nice. That was a nice surprise, but it's fun looking at the trend. I absolutely love rocky, hard bottom, steep drop offs, those kinds of transitions. That's my thing. I hate grass, but grass is king, really, there's a lot in the grass. So I don't hate it. I don't feel like I'm as versatile with it, but I need to be. I believe in versatile angling. So, but yeah, so Douglas was kind of my forte when it came to that.
Yeah, y'all to look into. I fish a lot of Del Hollow. Del Hollow's
That's
right
what I
up
hear.
your alley.
That's what I hear. I don't know what I do. I probably never leave.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then Cumberland. I'm close to Cumberland in Kentucky, so another great lake.
Yeah.
And what's your?
I feel your pain being up north. I'm in New York, and
Oh yeah, that's right. You were telling me. But you guys have a lot of nice lakes, don't you?
yeah,
yeah.
I'm in a. Oh yeah, I'm 10 minutes from Cayuga Lake, about an hour from St. Lawrence River. So yeah, I'm kind of spoiled where I'm at.
Mhm.
But you know, the 5 and 6 pounders, they're big fish up here.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in with 25 pounds, you think you're doing good. But sometimes it's not the best. But
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a lake up here.
It is what it is.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, just an hour away, I have a lake where you have to have 22 to 25 pounds to win it. Some of these tournaments in the summer. But then, late summer, early fall, where it's that kind of weird transition, or sometimes like the post spawn where it's kind of funky stage, 15 pounds will win it. It depends. I mean, I got a fishery here, a chain of lakes where a 3-pounder is a good size fish. And I figured something out this year, but it was a little late in the year. I brought in three fish consistently over 5 pounds. One was close to 6 on a chain of lakes where 3 pounds is big. And so we have fisheries all around us that are phenomenal. And it's one of the seminars that I do, and especially with local bass clubs who think they can't do a lot, they can't travel a lot or whatever. I teach them. I started as a pond hopper. I started a lot like the Guggen Squad guys. And I watched them before they were big, when they lived the next town over from me. And, or they used to, I should say, and they started all their videos on all the local ponds that I was living around. And said, well, this is how I learned fishing. I would watch the background and say, where are they? And fish where I knew were fish because they were catching them. And then I'd hone my skills. And I kind of grew up with them on YouTube and learned a lot of stuff, just watching what they were fishing and what they were doing. And so some of these ponds, I mean, there's a guy who caught a 9.5 pounder in a local pond. I mean, it wasn't, I don't know if it was put there. It's a big, huge subdivision pond. So obviously had to at some point, but there are some ponds where I consistently get fish over 3.5, 4 pounds, and they're all large on a frog. Dream come true, but a local fishery can be real good. You're going to work at it, but that makes you a better fisherman, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, what is your, if you go to the lake, what is your confidence technique? What is your go-to?
Jigging. Jigs all day. I mean, jigs in the grass, jigs swimming back, jigs hopping, bouncing, slow crawling, everything. I can throw a jig, and it's a 3/8 ounce missile jig all day long. And a California Love, which is green pumpkin black.
Yep.
Hands down. I mean, I have just destroyed people this year on that thing. And I mean, not saying that's the only thing, but my biggest thing is, especially when I promote in seminars, is you fish your environment.
Yeah.
So depending on the environment you're in, again, as I was telling you before, I don't fish a lot of grass just because I'm not as confident in it. But what I do fish is a lot of places you can throw a jig, and there's a lot I can do it. Now I do a lot of flipping and pitching. There's a lot of docks, there's a lot of covers, a lot of man-made structure. It's all private property. So I'm really good at casting and skipping and getting in and around spots. I'm not afraid to go above bars, around a pole, under a rock, all that stuff. I'll figure out how to fish to get that fish out of there, when I hook them. But that's where our fish are sitting. It's such a highly pressured fishery. I mean, we're in Chicagoland, millions and millions of people. And then COVID happened, millions and millions of people got fishing licenses.
Yep.
So everybody and their mother's out there. So those fish have seen everything. So don't think you're going to throw something new and automatically catch a fish. You got to change your technique and your presentation and fish in spots where people normally would not want to throw or can throw their lure. And so you'll see me, and a 4-pounder can sit in 6 inches of water. A good friend of mine used to say, if there's enough water to cover his back, he's there.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I know COVID had a buddy, Horse Cabela's, and they couldn't keep kayaks in stock. It was amazing. I went to my local pond, and you just see kayaks everywhere. It's great though. I mean, is amazing.
Oh yeah, I have a kayak too. You never know. I mean, kayak can get you into some spots that a boat can't get into. My first boat was an Alumacraft Mod V, and it was lucky if it, you only need 6 inches of water for that thing. So I would get into some spots, some channels other guys couldn't get into. It was great. I mean, I'd go back there and just slay them. It was awesome. And I'd come out with 15, 16 pounds on a river system where 9, 10 pounds is a lot. So it worked out really good. But yeah, you have to get creative. You have to get versatile. You have to work on your presentation mostly. There's no secret bait out there. I mean, every once in a while you get that one bait that does much better. But I mean, like I always say, you can ask 10 different guys, what'd you catch them on? You're in the top 10, and every single guy will say something different. So, but my confidence too is just the jig, just because I can do so much with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could throw it in most environments. It's just versatility. Really, that's the biggest reason. That's why I throw it. Not because I love it, not because it's the only thing I catch on things on. It's just, it works in most environments.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I grew up a Denny Brower fan, so of course I was big on the jig, but it does seem like it brings in a better way to fish, better quality for sure.
Yeah, better quality. Absolutely. I was surprised because, I had somebody comment to me this year, said, oh, you did very well this year. I said, well, I didn't catch as many fish, but the fish were much bigger.
Yep.
And I did a lot better. I got a lot of big bass trophies this year, awesome. Which is awesome. And this time it was like, I always used to say, oh, it's just luck, but I intended on them this year. I went fishing in deeper water. I went to places where we had a lot of water level issues. Our water levels were very low this year in a lot of places. And then they would draw down more water because we get a rain. And, next thing you know, it's like you're beaching yourself in spots you shouldn't be. And those fish have moved. They're not there where they used to be for the last 10 years. They're gone, or they've moved out. So I went to deeper water this year and found some good quality fish that amazed some people. They're like, I didn't know those fish existed. I go, well, they're here. They're even bigger. The muskie guys tell me all the time how they catch all those big bass, and and I catch their muskie, which is even funnier. So, but it works out good.
Awesome. Good deal. But and then jig too, you can go shallow to deep.
I mean, I got told. Yeah, I got told when I first started fishing tournaments. A guy asked me, he goes, "Do you fish a jig?" I'm like, "No." He goes, "That's okay, because I don't mind taking your money." So right then and there, I knew I had to learn how to fish.
That's what I was told. If you don't learn to fish a jig, you'll be beaten by one for sure.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it happens a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good friend of mine fished his first BASS Open. He actually won it up here on a jig, fishing for smallmouth. So. Yeah, for sure. It catches everything.
It does. I mean, in its presentation.
He was throwing 1 ounce football head jig.
Oh, that's what we throw up here for smallmouth. Sometimes I'll throw a 1 ounce, a 3/4 ounce, and 40 feet of water, 45 feet of water, and dragging that jig slowly. It's amazing the things you can see, especially now with forward-facing sonar. I'm a big techie. I love my electronics. I love computers. Everybody hands me their cell phone when something's going wrong. Everybody calls me over to fix their laptop. The usual thing. I'm actually fixing one tomorrow. I mean, so when it comes to electronics, So when it comes to electronics, you put me on a boat with all the electronics, no problem. I like it just because, I mean, as much as I do like the mystery aspect of it, I'm learning a lot. It's not so much that I'm winning the tournaments. I'm learning behavior of these fish and how they do things and why they do things. And this is what I love. My favorite is when I'll be like, oh man, that fish is up on the bank and excuse me, I'm catching them on the bank or whatever. And my partner like, oh, it's because of this and this and that and this and this. And how do you know all that? And he's like, well, that's how it is. What I've been told. Or that's, I said, I want the proof. I want to see what these fish are doing in the electronics. I want to see, are they coming from deep, coming in shallow? Are they hanging around there? Am I drawing them in? Are they suspended and going down after it? I want to know why. And it's just because I just have a craving to learn. It makes me a better fisherman eventually, because there will be a day where I won't have the sonar. It won't work or this or that. I want to be able to do everything. But if I have a better idea of what's going on and I have to fish blind, I can do it. I mean, right now I have the basics, and I go out there and learn. You learn from being on the water. But the electronics, like the forward-facing sonar, helped me because I learn how the fish are hitting the bait. Why this, what I'm feeling, this type of tug, why is it that way? And then when I go out and in a situation where I can't use it or I don't use it, I'll still be able to fish better, if anything.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good tool, and it's amazing. I was actually a marshal one time on Douglas at a Bass Open the last day, and the guy I was marshaling with, he said, "Come look at this," and he caught a fish on a crankbait, and this other fish was like trying to take the lure out of the fish's mouth. We could watch it. It was amazing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you learn a lot. I mean, I went king salmon fishing in Lake Michigan, and I went in one of the harbors, and it's the coolest thing to see kings because you can see them plain as day, and they're huge. They're 20 pounders, and I see them, and I see my bait's moving, and there's 15 of them swirling around it. Now you don't feel nothing,
right?
And you don't see anything. If it was without it, I would have thought, well, they're just not there. And yet there's 15 swirling around it, barely touching it. And I was talking to some of the salmon charter guys, and they said, oh yeah, that's what they do. They sit there and they tease at it and they look at it and they're just about to touch it and they don't touch it. And you never know they're there. Yep. And I said, well, I would have never tried because I would have left. But instead I stayed. I started rotating lures. I started rotating presentations. Then I had 3 king salmon in the boat, which is great. But if I would have not had that, I would have never known, and I would have not pushed it. But it was a good learning tool. Now I see their behavior, why they do what they do. They were only willing to come up to the bait. They weren't willing to go down to it. So I learned a lot.
It's amazing too when you get a big ball shad, the bass comes through, and the shad just
separate. Yeah, that's the best part. Yeah, and I noticed too that the fish don't really swim really fast. It's not like they're running around everywhere all the time. They're just sitting there going real slow. But if I do see one take off, I know I'm about to get a bite. That's usually what it means. Usually you don't spook them, but usually if they start to take off, they pick up speed. It's because they see your bait and they're coming towards it.
Yep.
So, but I'm still learning. There's still a lot to learn. I got a lot of time on the water yet to put with that thing, and learn all kinds of stuff.
Yes, it's amazing. I'm just wondering what the future is going to bring. I know it's going to.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this, but
I had some ideas that were thrown out there. There's some couple of companies. Garmin is going to be working with the company. They're working with possibly. I've heard rumors. I'm not going to say anything really too specific, but being in the tech world, there's going to be some sort of like a virtual reality thing where it's going to be heads-up display with glasses. Garmin's going to be working with Apple on that. That's what I hear, where they're going to actually, Apple's got their heads-up display where you're going to look at the water through these glasses and you're going to see a 3D rendition laid on top of what you're looking at, and you're going to physically see these fish going around, and you're going to see the tree stump going all the way down. It's ridiculous, to be honest, where they're going with the prototype and the ideas, because there's so much controversy going on right now, and I'm like, both sides of it sound good and both sides of it sound bad, so I'm not really go either way. But still, it's like, there's technology is going to take it to a point where, eventually, it's not going to be fishing anymore. But it depends. Everything has cycles, so we'll see how it goes. There's only so far you can go until you just either can't afford it anymore or it's just not fishing anymore. So, but whatever happens. But right now, we'll just kind of go with what it is.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. It's a tool, like power poles or whatever. It's another tool. So
exactly. But they're fun anyway. Fun choice.
I would rather have I'm a co-angler. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather have somebody use forward-facing sonar than spot lock. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've done both. I've been in the back of the boat for a while, and now I'm from the front of the boat for a little bit. And I do a lot of team tournaments. I don't do a lot of solo tournaments at all, just because that's what we have around here. Mostly, I do have a couple solo ones, but a team tournament's nice. When I'm in the front of the boat, I want my co-angler catching as many fish, if not more, because I'm worried about so many other things, and I have to do this and that I'm so happy when they hook into a fish. So I try to position them in the best way possible. Even with forward-facing sonar, I don't go right at it. I'll position the boat sideways so we both can have a crack at it. I don't have to see every lure that hits the water. I just have to know exactly what's there and what are the fish doing around it. I can watch the fish to figure out how they're reacting. I don't necessarily have to see the exact lure in the water or whatnot. I've gotten to the point so that we can both have opportunities. And if I see the fish going towards their bait, I'm like, hey, I said, there's a fish going after your lure right now. Keep it in the water or whatnot. I'll coach them on it because they can't even look at it. So I want them part of the experience as much as me, because it's boring to sit in the back of the boat when the guy in the front's doing everything. I mean, that's what I hear about BFLs a lot. You know, these co-anglers are on the boat and they're stuck with nothing because the guy in the front's staring at a screen and fishing a particular thing in front of him, and that co-angler cannot cast anywhere near his bait, near that target. So it gets tough. So I don't want the guys in the back of my boat ever feeling like that. I want them catching them just as much, if not more.
Yeah, definitely. I actually talked about Gunnersville. I fished a Toyota series as a co in Gunnersville, and a boater got on a pattern. I mean, we was in shallow, but he was ripping a chatterbait out of the grass, and he had like 24 pounds. I mean, he was on them, and I was throwing a spinner bait behind him. And it's funny. Last of the day, he says, "Man, I can't upgrade," and he missed a couple of fish on this one shore about a boat launch, and says, "Let's run through here and see if you can get a couple more." He literally run the trolling motor, let me fish. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, if you can't upgrade, why not? I mean, It's just as much fun, because if the morale's better too. If both of you guys on the boat are in good moods and you guys are doing well, I mean, that's what I used to when I was I shouldn't say when, I'm still a co-angler a lot. I don't mind being in the back of the boat just fine. Like I said, that's how I started everything. But being in the back of the boat, sometimes it's my job just to help the guy in front help him make better decisions. Yeah. He makes better decisions. You know, keep it lively, keep it good, help him out. He helps me. I mean, it's a total team attitude. It's not, he's in front. Yes, he owns the boat. He's in charge of everything, whatever. Maybe he might be in charge of where we go, but I'll go practice. I had last couple of years, I had a boat. It never saw a tournament. It was just strictly for pre-fishing. I would pre-fish and do all that work for the gentleman in the front of the boat, because he had a job. I had a business. I could fish in the morning and I could work in the evening, or work whenever I want. I mean, granted, I still had to pay for it, unfortunately. But still, it was, you do your part. And so that both of you can benefit from it, because he shouldn't have to have all that weight on his shoulders anyway.
Yeah.
So, but that's more of a team tournament, not like where you guys are actually fishing, technically not against each other, but you're fishing separate things. But that's why I kind of like the team tournaments better. I'm not crazy about the draw tournaments as much, just because you can get a good guy in the front, you can get a bad guy in the front. You don't know what's going to be like. And I want to have a good day of fishing. My time is limited. So if I'm going to put my time into a day of fishing, I want it as best as possible. Granted, it's fishing. I know how it goes, but I'm going to try to get as much success out of it as I can. I mean, I kind of believe in making your luck most of the time. Granted, there is a little bit of just luck that comes out of nowhere, but I make a lot of my luck. I pre-make things. I practice a lot. I put a lot of time and effort into everything. And since my time is valuable, I try to make it count.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be organized and kind of keep your head in the game on the back of the boat. I mean, you're going to have days, where I even had a good friend of mine, Gary Haraguchi. He's won a ton of money on FLW. And he said, hey, some days you might have 10 or 15 minutes, but that's 10 or 15 minutes. You got to capitalize and be ready. And he's absolutely right. You got to stay focused and nose to the grindstone.
Exactly. And you guys got to work together. You guys got to compliment each other in some way or fashion. I mean, everybody's got their own way of doing things, but if it's going to be a team tournament, you got to figure out the strengths and weaknesses and focus on that. And if you guys both have the same strengths and weaknesses, fine, then double up and then you just go from there. But otherwise, you guys got to work together. Even if one guy just makes the fish show themselves and never catches a single fish, but the other guy actually comes in, which happened. I had a guy who threw a frog a lot in the front of my boat, and he'd get them to show themselves. They wouldn't hook, because they were just, they were pressured or they were just reacting. And I'd go right behind him with a wacky worm. Boom. And we catch him. He'd net it. Done. And that's how we did the whole day. He didn't care. He's like, it doesn't matter. I'll get that 4-pounder to show himself. You throw in right behind me. I'll net him. And we go cash a check. And we did. We cashed a check every tournament. It was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was a good year.
Okay, yeah, I had one boater actually on Dale Hollow one time, a young guy.
Yeah, he
had a pretty good day. And then I got it on
one of our future guests has a.
Yeah, talked to the guy who had a drop shot that day, and it was awesome. I mean, I've had so many guys offer baits, and I've offered baits to them. So, yeah, it's a two-way streak for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to know that you can and it's always to have somebody hold you accountable as well, which is nice. Because it kind of makes you be a little bit better. Because a long time ago in business, somebody used to tell me, you'll work hard for yourself, but you work harder for somebody else. Because that's just the way the human nature is. I mean, you'll figure it out. You'll just whatever for yourself. But if somebody else is is out there and they're dependent on you, you're going to work a little harder than you would for yourself. And that's true for my nature. I feel like sometimes I let myself go on a couple things, or I just like, I'll figure it out, whatever for me. But if it's for somebody else, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make sure I get that done for you. I told you I do it. I'm going to do it, when I might lie to myself, but I won't lie to them. So with fishing in a team atmosphere, you're holding each other accountable. So you tend to work a little harder for each other, which is nice when you have a good team atmosphere. I've never done it with I don't know. I shouldn't say I've been in a boat with a random stranger, but not too many times. And they've been more surprised than I have than anything. Just being a female in the industry, it's funny how many guys still think I still can't catch a fish, and I'm just holding my partner's fish up in the photo. It's comical. I signed up for this. I know how it's going to be. I've heard it all and then some, and anything else I hear doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I still had a guy like last year say, yeah, that one guy still thought you were just throwing the bait that the guy in the front of the boat does just to catch your fish. That's all you were doing. If you did catch the fish, because maybe it was somebody else's. I'm like, oh Lord, it's always like that.
That way.
That's part of it. But I find out it's a lot of the stuff in the fishing industry isn't necessarily toward geared. It's like a woman thing. It's more newbies too. New guys, they do that stuff to each other too. I see you're holding up your buddy's fish. So nice of him to let you hold his fish in the photo, stuff like that. They do that to each other. But there are some guys who just don't know because they're not used to a female being so passionate about fishing. And it's hard to have other females around. I wanted to do the ICAST Cup, and I had a hard time finding a partner. I couldn't. I'm like, I got a boat. I got the time to do it. I'll drive down there. I'll do it. And I couldn't find a female partner that was willing to. That I know of. I know there's a lot of talented women out there. I'm just not in that area. I'm in the Midwest, so it's tough. If I went down south or maybe in a different area, I'd probably find a lot more women that I could probably learn from, who know a hell of a lot more than I do. But as far as finding somebody, I was ready to go. I wanted to go. I just couldn't find anybody. And I had a couple of people that I contacted. They had so much going on, or maybe they just weren't into it as much as I was. I don't know. But eventually, that's what the little stepping stones. I'll eventually do something like that. Throw myself in maybe a particular tournament where that has a little bit more, weight, or maybe a couple in a series. Maybe I'll do a couple Bass Opens. We'll see. But it's a lot of time and money. You can't just jump in. You have to put the time and work in it. If I'm going to go practice, I'm going to put in the time to practice, and that's going to take me away from my business, unfortunately. And anything else. And I got a mom who's older, who's an hour away, who has health issues and whatnot. So it's hard for me just to pick up and go right now. But the good thing about fishing is you can do it for pretty much ever, which is nice. So, and I'm staying healthy, and I'm actually having shoulder surgery next week. So that should be interesting. So I thought I'd do it. So if you see me at a show and I'm in a sling, that's why. But it's not too bad, but it's got to get done. And they said, oh, you'll be fine by Gunnersville. I said, great. That's all that mattered. Will I be fine by Gunnersville? That's all that matters.
There you go. Yeah, we had a comment from a young lady. I know Ashley. She says, I think I've won more money out of back of a boat with a random stranger than I ever have won fishing a team tournament.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Good for her.
She's a hammer. I know.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And that's good. That means that she's probably very versatile, and she puts her time on the water, and she's seen a lot of environments, and she can pretty much probably be thrown into any environment and catch fish, which is awesome. That's what you need to do. So that's what it sounds like. If she's with a stranger, that means she's probably given some opportunity or not, and yet she makes the best of it, and she kicks butt, which is fantastic. Good for her.
Yeah, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's a go-getter right there, I guarantee.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she's actually a future guest of ours as well. So.
Oh, good. I'll definitely have to listen to that for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't see shit. Also says, sadly, I'd rather just show up the day before.
And she says,
right, yeah, you know what? There's actually excitement that because I had to do that all the time.
Yeah.
I never got a chance to practice. I didn't have a boat, and I started in a bass club where we'd go for these like weekend tournaments, and they treated it like any MLF, FLW type thing, and all the rules, and it was still competition, but it wasn't cutthroat. They were still really good guys, but they all had nice bass boats, electronics, all that stuff. And it was a draw tournament, and you fish together as a team tournament. And every month for every tournament, you had to fish with a different person, period. And they did that so that everybody would get to know each other, and you'd see how everybody fished. And it was awesome because I learned so many different styles.
Yep.
I learned different bass boats, different electronics. I mean, it was great. And most of the time we didn't get a chance to practice. We got maybe one day, maybe. And then sometimes I couldn't be there because that's when I was working a job and I'd have to show up on tournament day. So I was in there blind. And to me, that's actually kind of more exciting because I'm like, oh, where are we going next? Because then I'm like, I don't care where we are. Just put me in front of water. That's all I care. Just put me in front of water. I'll fish it. And I still tell that to my partner today. He goes, where do you want it? Where do you think we should go? It's kind of tough. I said, to be honest, I know it's just as much as you. I said, just put me in front of water and I will catch a fish for you. Don't worry about it. So, and sometimes that's exciting, more exciting than just sitting there and grinding it out for a week and then being like, okay, now what do we do? Because there's too much information in your head. Now all the ideas are swirling around and this, and then somebody says something. That's the worst.
Yeah.
Somebody says something in the doc, and you're like, oh, geez, there goes everything. I just there goes my head. I'm done. I mean, it's all these ideas I had blown out of the water. Because then somebody said something and it's that guy who's in the clique who knows or always catches the big one, and you got to stop listening and you just kind of just go do it. Just go fish. That's all we got to do sometimes. So.
Yeah, it seems like over the years I carry less and less tackle and fewer rods, and it just eliminates a lot of confusion. It just seems like it works better for me.
I'm waiting for the day where I'm going to walk to the back of the boat with 2 rods and 1 pack of plastics, and that's it. That's going to be the day I'm like, yep. Then I've gone. That's a little. I've seen the situation too many times, but there are a couple of times like pond hopping. When I'll still pond hop if I had the time. I'd go walk around to some of these ponds. It's fun. Or rivers, I have a couple river systems around me where I can just go from shore and fish. And there's some really nice smallmouth out here. I'll take a small backpack with just one little tackle box, a couple hard baits, some plastics done, and 2 rods. And the only reason is 2 rods because in case one breaks or one stops working. That's the only reason. Otherwise, and that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, if they're going to bite, they're going to bite. That's how it is. I mean, you can sit there and finesse and do all that. I am a big finesse fisherman. But like I said, I still believe in versatility. I only do finesse because a lot of people don't do it around here, and it catches a lot of fish behind people at the front of the boat. And so, 9 times out of 10, the guys will not finesse fish. They're just not into that, which is fine. That's fine. Leave it to me. You don't have to finesse fish. Don't learn it. You're good. You just keep doing what you're doing. I'll get you later on it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I got to where I'll drop shot and I'll actually flip it and pitch it up shallow.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well. Yep, I've done really well this year on that.
Yep. When the Ned rig got popular, which it's been around forever, but when it really got popular, it was that one year it got really popular. When Z-Man came out with the TRD and all that stuff. Well, that was the year it got popular for me. I kind of in the area was one of the few that was fishing with it, like just pond hopping. I hadn't been in tournaments yet, and I just got into the bass club with a friend of mine who we used to fish together. He was retired, so he would fish around the area, and we would just link up sometimes and just go fish, just to have a partner to fish with. So we both got in the bass club, and I remember he was a huge power fisherman, huge. I mean, wouldn't throw anything except unless someday he reel back really quick, right? And I would just kill him on the Fox River, just smallmouth after smallmouth on the Ned rig. He's like, "What are you throwing?" I'm like, "Ned rig," because I ain't throwing that stupid thing. He would watch me just fish after fish. He wouldn't get a bite, and he still wouldn't throw it. And I like, "I'll buy you a pack for Christmas." I'd hand it to him. I practically forced it to him. So I guess one day he went to a local golf course pond he lived on, and he decided to throw it because he was so frustrated he couldn't catch anything. And he nailed some really nice fish. Well, the next bass club tournament, and remember, I was pounding this into him because I felt bad for him because he wasn't fishing. I really didn't need to show him.
Right.
Well, he destroyed everybody in that tournament because I didn't throw the Ned rig in that tournament. It was up in Green Lake up in Wisconsin. And it was tough. I was throwing a chatterbait and ripping it through the grass, and I was getting some success. So at least I was putting the fish in the boat. The guy in the front of the boat was having a hard time, but you had to fish a little slower, and you had to yo-yo it through the grass. That's the only way they'd take it. But my other buddy, I guess they were in a part of the lake where when he threw that Ned rig, he said it was like he was putting on a clinic. He caught a 5.5 pounder, which was big bass. They won the tournament. And the guy in front of his boat said, I was just a Uber driver netting his fish all day because this guy was nonstop. And he killed me with the bait that I forced down his throat. So I said, after they said, I'm not showing you anything ever again because you're just going to take my money. So then I said, I'm never going to show anybody ever again. And here I am doing seminars showing everybody what I do, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's the right time and place. Now, if I was in that part of that lake, I probably would have done the same he did, but it doesn't mean I would have caught the same fish either. So I was glad for him. He was so happy. But I'm going to tell you though, that after that day, he never put that darn Ned rig down. He must have thrown it everywhere all the time. And I go, no, now you're overdoing it. Now, it works and it's time and place, but it's something I wanted to show him because where we were in the river, it's king. It's king in that part of the river just because of the way people fish there. But yeah, then when you throw it everywhere, I'm like, I mean, he was ripping it through lily pads and grass. I'm like, what are you doing? Dang. But you catch him every once in a while. But anyway, it was just kind of funny how I forced it on him and then he ended up winning against me with it, which is funny.
That is pretty good. I had the same thing with a frog. I caught a couple nice ones on the frog and I couldn't hardly put it down. And finally I had to like hit my hand and say, okay, enough of the frog.
Well, there's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing right. And actually, people get away from it. They'll use only the frog in certain situations.
Yep.
They had a guy in the front of my boat a couple years ago, and he would not put that frog down. And granted, he would get 100 casts in, not a single blow up. But when he did get that blow up, he'd get that big fish. We'd always have big bass because of that. Or he'd make the fish show themselves so I can then throw behind him. Then it works. I mean, then that's okay. But it was like they would laugh. People laugh and say, oh, yeah, Jonah's frog. He'd always throw that. That's all he throws is a frog. All he's got a frog on his deck and maybe one other bait. And I'm like, let him. If you've seen what he did with that frog, now because of him, I throw the frog in spots that most people wouldn't throw. And you'd be surprised at the attention it gets, even if it's not a hit, even if you don't hook him. At least now I know, okay, he's there. And then hurry up, throw the other rod, the backup rod, and throw that in there and get him. And it's just another tactic. It's a way to do it. I don't see a lot of guys doing that.
Yeah, I got to where I blow up on a frog. I skip a Cinco in there or something, just hurry up and get something right there to it. So
exactly. It's a great technique. I mean, especially in pressured waters where you just need them to show themselves because sonar or not, there are some fish you are just not going to see. And they won't move. And to get them to move, there's certain things you got to do, and you got to be willing to do what others are not to get the things that others won't get. And that's a big thing in my vocabulary for sure.
And everything I'll know, so I'll do a lot of crankbait and angles. You can hit just one log 50 times, and the 51st time you go a different way, and boom, you get him.
Mm-hmm. And that's crankbait fishing for sure. That's one of the things that I need to do more. It's hard out here because we do have a lot of grass. As much as I love to not love grass and I love throwing a jig on hard surfaces, there's very few places. I mean, Lake Geneva, which is a big fish lake up here that I do a tournament on, it's all grass. The whole thing's grass. I mean, there's very few areas that are just rock. And even the grass is 20 feet tall in a lot of places. It's crazy. So crankbaiting is kind of hard. And a lot of the systems out here, we have a lot of grass, lily pads, a lot of algae, a lot of just all kinds of grass growth. I can't even name them all. I really need to learn my grasses because I have so much grass out here. So it's hard for me to do crankbait fishing. I really want to do more. I'm working with PH Custom Lures. There's a great balsa bait company, one of the best in the country, if not the best. And he just started doing some glide baits, some amazing glide baits that's becoming the thing now. But yeah, I'd love to throw more of the crankbaits. It's just hard out here. So it'd be nice for me to go to like Southern Lakes or other lakes like Dale Hollow and whatnot. And Gunnersville, I think I'll get a chance. I'd like to throw some of those. It would be nice to do more crankbait fishing, but it's so hard out here. Just because of the environment, it's hard. I mean, there are bits and pieces. There are times where I can throw it. I just wish I could throw a little bit more. I want to work crankbaits a little bit more, be more versatile with them, more finesse.
Yeah. Douglas Lakes, like Cherokee, is big crankbait area. So they actually got a fishing expo there around January, February, and usually there's a bunch of homemade balsa bait makers. It's amazing. But Phil Hunt makes some amazing baits.
Phil makes phenomenal stuff. It's fabulous, and he gave me a good sample of them. And like I said, he hand tunes all of them. They all run great. I mean, there are a lot of guys out here that do throw them. You didn't think? I mean, he told me that the Midwest is one of the areas where the balsa isn't as popular, but I think it is. It's just that nobody's talking about it because they know what they have. And a couple of these guys are very loyal, just balsa bait. They just go for balsa crankbaits. I mean, they have their time and place. Other ones do as well, but there's definitely a lot more going on up here with the balsas than we all think, because the guys aren't just saying anything, especially on the Mississippi River. There's a couple of good guys, good pros out there who are throwing them there, and they're just not saying anything. And that's one of the reasons I want to kind of get more into the crankbaits. Like I said, I'm not a big power fisherman, but that's one of the things I need to, it's because it's a weakness. I need to make it more of a strength. So I'm getting there. It's hard when you only have limited time and you're trying to stay on the water as you're tournament fishing because you don't have too much time to expand. But we'll see. Maybe in Gunnersville, in Gunnersville, I'm going to bring a bunch of them with me. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, you're gonna love Guntersville. It's a unique lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for that 10-pounder.
They're in there.
So
I know, that's what I hear.
yeah, I fished Gunterville once, and that was at a Toyota Championship, and the guy in the front of the boat, he had 21 pounds, and I had 0 because I wouldn't put the frog down. And I kept on missing him.
Oh yeah,
So,
that's.
but I had
that's
fun. I had fun time, and yeah. But I'm not a big frog fisherman where I'm at because a lot of the smallmouth up here don't go after them, but they
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
They
yeah.
do if you get the right ones.
Right, if you get the right ones, yeah. I had one hit one a couple of years ago out of nowhere. It's a smallmouth. Wow, that's weird. But it happens, of course. Absolutely. Yeah, it's hard because you got to fish the environment, fish the type of fish there are, and sometimes you can't throw those baits you want to work on a little bit more. That's why the pond hopping was so good for me in the beginning. Pond hopping is there's just so many different types of ponds. Most of it was grass because that's what you get in a lot of ponds and local smaller lakes. The river was nice though, but the problem is then I was dealing with something new that I had never dealt with was current. I was just lake fishing a lot, and when I learned about current, I hated it. I wanted nothing to do with it because it took all of my lures. That's the problem. But then when I learned how to make it work for me and why the current is there and why it's so beneficial and what's in the current or just outside the current, then it was now I love river fishing. It's like the Mississippi is one of my favorite places. I got the Fox River here, which flows in to the Mississippi and Illinois and all that stuff. And smaller ones like the Kankakee where you can wade for really nice smallmouth. I mean, it's 4 or 5 pound smallmouth out here in those rivers. It's nice. But you're dealing with the fluctuating water level, which is really tough. And we have a lot of people here. That's another tough thing. You come out there on a Saturday and Sunday, forget it. It's elbow to elbow. So, and then you're not snagging things like rocks in the river. You're snagging other line. You're snagging a shopping cart. You're snagging a golf club. That's unfortunate around here.
Yeah, I like current. That's why I grew up fishing rivers. With that current, you know where the fish is going to be, you know where he's going to be positioned, in the slack water. So it takes a little getting used to.
It does, but you can make it work for you. Like there's certain lures that do really well. I mean, the whopper plopper is really popular out here, especially for top water, especially in, going across currents and eddies and stuff. The way these rivers are, they're small. They're not big, giant, wide rivers like the Mississippi. So the little cuts and little eddies and boulders make all these little tiny spots where you can have a good time just fishing. You're not going to pull 20 fish out of one spot, but 2 or 3 is plenty. And then you can just go another 10 feet. And then there's another change in the water level or the flow. And there's another inlet here. And there's a part of one of our river systems here. We actually have a river tournament series on called Fox River Bassin, where it's one dam to the next dam. You can lock up. But most guys just tend to stay in between the 2 dams, and it's all largemouth mostly. I mean, I guess there's smallmouth there, but 99% of the fish that come in all year long are largemouth. It's got a great largemouth fishery, and you're talking about somebody brought in a 5.5 pounder last year, and that's on a river where the median depth is 3 feet, and there's a lot of offshoot channels that are all private, and there's big flood areas. I mean, the versatility is unbelievable. Rock, grass, lily pads, deep holes, dams, you name it, it's there. And it's not a huge stretch of the river, but it's enough that you can bring in 15, 16 pounds of fish, even 18 pounds to win it. And it's nice. It's nice.
Wow, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The unfortunate thing is just the pleasure boaters. Yep. It's not a very wide river. And it gets really narrow when you throw a jet skier along with a water skier, along with the tubers, and then you're trying to fish a bank on the open river because it's summer and the channels are too hot and the fish are out at the first points or secondary points, and everybody's flying around and it's 3 feet of water and the wake boats come through. That's tough.
Wow.
That's tough. Yeah, but it's all part of the strategy.
Yep.
All part of the strategy.
And I've seen sometimes with the wake boats and all that, we'll get the shad stirred up and they'll start flicking on
That's
the surface.
What I'm saying. Yep. Sometimes it's not bad. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's amazing how gymnastic you can be when you got 1 foot on a trolling motor and you're standing on the other one and you really need to catch fish. It's amazing how my balance just improves automatically because I'm so focused on fishing. But when it comes to those, sometimes it can be good. Yeah, absolutely. I will plan my day to say, okay, about 9 o'clock, the waypoints will come through. But when they do that, then this one point turns on because it stirs up the shad, and that's all part of the strategy. People don't understand. Traffic on the water is actually going to be part of the fishing strategy. So you need to plan that in advance. But the only way you could do that is if you've been on that body of water. And that's, again, comes down to time on the water.
Yep. Creates current when there's none. So sometimes
correct. Yep. That's huge. Current is huge. Yes.
But talking about that whopper plopper, I had a good friend of mine,
Ashley,
a good friend of John's there. We was fishing I think it's a BFL wild card down in Knoxville at Lake Loudon, and we both zeroed day one. He had a whopper plopper. He said, "Oh, it's a lay down. I'm gonna throw it out there." He caught 2 keepers on one cast on that whopper plopper. I think it was like a 90. Almost made the All-American on that one cast with 2 fish. That's how tough it was.
That's a good bait. That's a good bait. Yeah. There's and I think Phil Hunt makes something similar to that, and it's a plopper type style bait. And it's just I just got it not too long ago, and I need to throw that more because I heard a lot of guys say, because everybody's throwing a whopper plopper, so it makes a different sound. It's got a little bit more metallic, higher pitch sound, so it would probably attract the bass a little bit more because we got so many whopper ploppers around here. It might be something different because then you go with the next. There are years where the spook does better and the whopper plopper does better, and this. And then like I was using the Molix frog for a while, which is kind of like a whopper plopper type frog bait, all this crazy stuff. But yeah, then Phil has this plopper style bait, the Plop and P, I believe it's called, and that's another good one. It's fantastic bait. I just haven't had a chance to throw it enough. I mean, I got so many things in my arsenal. I just forget what I have sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you're out there, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot to throw that. I probably should have thrown that. You don't think about it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I've seen some guys catch. I mean, like cold conditions, front and get bites on it. So it is amazing lure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we're gonna start to wind down, I should say. Sure. Violetta, you want to talk about some of your sponsors and give a shout out to them before we have to say goodbye and possibly have you on again? Because it sounds like you have a lot more to talk about.
I talk about fishing all day. Everybody knows, like, yeah, you can't stop me. I mean, I used to be afraid of with seminars. I go, you want me to fill 45 minutes? I can't talk for that long. Hour and a half later, they're shutting me off, But I watch the audience and I make sure I don't want to bore anybody to death either. But so some of my sponsors, like one of my best sponsors, Lake County Water Sports, local dealer in town. They just became a brand new skeeter dealer. And Northern Illinois, and they're the premier skeeter dealer out here. They're one of the only ones. Wonderful family-owned business. Took me under their wing, knew nothing about me. Just they said, you love fishing. You don't have a boat. We're not expecting you to buy a boat or anything. Or we'll see what we can do about working with you and other companies. There's a way to, get you going with some of these companies. We'll get you in the door. Just great people, wonderful people. Didn't expect anything of me, but they believed in me, which is huge in this industry. Belief in people and supporting each other is huge. It's a small world, and they knew nothing about me. They believed in me, and and the way I do it is you do that for me and you don't expect anything. I want to do 10 times more for you because you've been great. And I tried to bring them business and service. And I actually was one of the people that helped them get the Skeeter dealership. So they helped me work with Skeeter to run my own Skeeter boat this year, which is awesome. An FXR 20 for sale. Everybody's looking for it. Boats are for sale like crazy now, but it's an awesome boat. I absolutely love Skeeter. It's a great brand, and it's going to be a great partnership with them. And like I said, they're a nice family-owned business. They're always busy, which is great, but they're always willing to take on another customer and help anybody out, which I love. They just got a great atmosphere. And of course, Grant Rods, Jim Grant's been wonderful to me. He's been awesome. I love that he's the business guy, the owner, the maker, the magician, the wizard of the whole thing, and you get to meet him at the show. He's the guy who's shaking your hand and selling you the rod, but he's also the guy who's been making them for the last, I don't know how many years, 40, 50, 60, 80 years. It seems like this time it was 40 years. But and he has so much knowledge, but he has so many great connections in the fishing industry. He knows so many people. It's not just about making the rod and making the money. It's about making good connections and talking to people and going everywhere and being a part of the whole industry. He taught me that, and he got me into a lot of doors that I probably wouldn't have been able to get into. So I'll give him a lot of credit for that. And of course, like I said, I got a lot of other companies. It's very unusual. is Trudy Midas from España Silk. It's a company that actually deals, it's technically more female driven. She's female owned business. They do a lot of hair care, lotions type thing, but more for the organic animal industry. I was actually used to be a horse trainer, and I met her when I used to have horses, and she used to do all the stuff for, I mean, this high end horses, $100,000 plus. I mean, horses that cost more than bass boats, put it that way. So they had to really take care of these horses, and she did all the products and all this stuff. And it comes from a wonderful story. You know, we'll carry that another time. But she's been a wonderful fan of mine. I used to do a lot of photography for her, and we used to be at shows together. And when I got into fishing, she shared the story and said, you know, my dad and I fished when I was little. We lived off the land. We ate the fish we caught, and he's like my hero. And he taught me how to fish and hunt and all that stuff. And I think it's so awesome that you're a female in the fishing industry. I want to support you. I want to be your number one fan. And she came along, even though she knows that her product may never hardly ever sell in this industry. She doesn't care. She goes, I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you out. I just think it's so cool that you're doing everything you do. So I want to be your number one fan. And I think that, and she's a multi-million-dollar business, international, and does it all herself, which is a feat in itself. So I create partnerships with all my sponsors. They're not just, they have a product, they give it to me. I mean, nobody's paying me huge salaries. I like that I know all these people. I know the people at Daiwa. I know the people, I know the guy at Lowrance. I mean, there's so many other companies, and I have some sort of a friendship or partnership or some sort of relationship with them, because we're all in this together. We're all doing the same thing. We're all here for the same reason. Yes, we're trying to make money. Money pays the bills, but what's the side effect? And we make great connections, and we learn from each other. It's huge. And so I like to work with any companies that are like that. I'm a business owner. Granted, it's business, but I also want to be in this all together, and for the right reasons. And that's why I love forming the friendships and partnerships with these guys, no matter how big or small. I mean, I give everybody a chance.
Yeah, talk about the FXR. That's a great platform to fish on.
Oh my gosh, was it amazing? I love it. I don't want to let the boat go, but I know the next one's coming. But I'm just like, and I got to tell you, I just finished detailing it, and I sat there for 2 days for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, I had toothbrushes. I was like, I'm going to make this thing so beautiful over the next day. He's going to love it as much as I will, because that thing is, and that motor, I mean, I got it. Oh, I'm in heaven. And I'm thankful every day I get to be on it. And I want to sell a bunch of them because it's a great company. The dealership's awesome. Lake County's been amazing. So I want to help them become a good skeeter dealer, because they got everything it takes. They don't have the size right now. They don't have the huge staff. Everybody's hurting for technicians. Yep. It's hard with technicians and stuff, the way things are, but they're still plugging away. They're making customers happy, and they're selling boats. Not as many as we can because of the way things are, but hopefully next year will be a better year. But definitely that FXR, oh my gosh, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I was on a Bass Open at Cherokee one time, and I fished with Clay Dyer, and he had an FXR, and it was a great day, man. It was
beautiful. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful. It doesn't have to be the fastest. It's not necessarily the fastest, although they go pretty good. But it's what would they call a sexy boat? Everybody, It's beautiful, but it's very functional. It's well made, well put together, and it makes, put it this way, it makes fishing so much easier, because it lets you fish. Yep. You're not fighting something on the boat. You're not trying to fix this. You're not trying to maneuver around this, or you don't have to finagle or finesse this thing on the boat so it works better. They put everything exactly how it should be, where it needs to be, so you can fish. And it's awesome. And I'm just in awe of the stuff they do. Granted, there are a lot of boat dealers out there and a lot of boat companies, but Skeeter's really premier. They are awesome. Right. And the FXR is going to make somebody happy soon. I can't wait.
I heard that. And talk about Jim Grant. I mean, his rods are like a work of art. I mean, if I got one, I'd be hard. I don't know if I could fish with it. I mean, he's just so detailed and all.
It is. And even the I like the Pyar, the Cuda is my favorite, just because it is beautiful, but it is extremely functional. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can beat them to death, and they are still the shiniest. Well put together. There's nothing has chipped off or fallen off my rods, and they are banging in the back of the boat. You know how it is when you're in the back of the boat and you've got them all stuck together. I mean, I've banged the heck out of them, and they still stay shiny. I bring them to the seminars, and I do little, presentations with them. And the guys pick them up and look at them and they go, "Oh, is this a newer rod?" I go, "No, I've had it for 4 years." And I fish with it every single day almost. And it's like, that's how well made it is. And people, yes, they are more expensive,
Yep.
They're not like a St. Croix that's $120 off the shelf. But there's a reason for it. Nothing against St. Croix. We love everybody. But they're more expensive, but there's a reason for it. Lifetime warranty. Who does that? Nobody does that. And also they last. You don't ever need to replace it unless you like close it in the car door like I did once, and we won't talk about it. But it happens, and he understands that, and you pay a lot of money for it. So he's willing to give you another one within reason, obviously, but they last. You can actually fish, which is great.
Awesome product. Yeah, I met him, I think, at the Indianapolis show, I think it was. Or great guy.
Yeah. He'll be there again this year, I believe. Yeah.
Good deal. Great show.
Yes, it is.
Oh, got a quick question for Talley. It says, what size boat does
All right,
she
we do have a
prefer?
question for you, and this after this question, we're going to have to wrap it up.
Sure. What size boat do I
It
prefer?
says, what
18,
size boat do you prefer? 18, 19, 20, 21?
I would, well, to be honest, I had an 18 and a half, and then, but the biggest thing was the width of it, is the width of the front. Being on the front of the boat, especially, my biggest thing is I need room. I need room to move. I need room to work. I am pitching and flipping a lot of spots. I'm going to be rotating the sonar or whatnot. I need to be able to move around, have rods on the deck. All of a sudden overnight, you'll have 20 rods on the deck, and when you only intended on 4 happens. I also want room for my partner to be able to come up and fish. Vice versa. If I'm in the back of the boat, it'd be nice to have room in the front of the boat if I can come up there in the team tournament. I ran a 20'6" this year. I'd love to run a 20. Now I hear that the 20 or the 21, I hear the 21 footer on Skeeter 21.6 is not wider. It's just as wide. It's just longer by a foot. So the width right now is great. So the 20'6" is perfect. I don't see why I should have anything bigger, but if you show me a wider boat, I'll probably fall in love with that too. So my biggest thing is width. I want that width on the beam, especially. I want to be able to work. So that's the thing. Length, as far as drivability and whatnot, I haven't had enough experience to drive like a 21 footer versus the 20. As far as but I hear that the 21 footers have a little bit better handling. But I handle that 20'6", no problem. No issues whatsoever. I have not a single issue whatsoever. I have no complaints. And everybody I take for a ride, they're impressed. So 20'6" right now I think is fine. I'd like to try 21, but I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference for me.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Violet. Have a good night. We're going to end this show. And if anyone has any questions, they can contact you on your social media.
Absolutely, they can.
We've had that scrolling around there. They can contact you that way.
Yeah, I mean, guys, thank you so much.
And,
I mean,
we'll definitely have to try to get you back on again. I know your schedule is getting busy, so.
Yeah, I appreciate everything. Thank you so much for everything, guys. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Enjoyed having you. Great info.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good.
Oh, Rob.